Masculinity and femininity are accepted by the child in the stage that we studied previously. That was the symbolic stage, femininity. So the terms you see, Lacan uses symbolic stage, and the term Freud uses for the same is Oedipal stage. Oedipal is used as symbolic. Why symbolic? The child here symbolically has accepted the presence of the phallus and the lack of phallus in the female. And this phallus, according to Freud, represents the law. Phallus is what represents the law, father's law. So the terms is what is significant in Lacan mostly. Now let's move on in real state what actually happens. Let's take it from the perspective of the desire and emotions and love. What happens to a child? He has been removed from his love object. Having removed from his love object, he has also been removed from the signified that he wanted. The signified, according to Saussure, is an absolute concept, which means a cat can only be a cat in its signified, the image. But post-structuralists say it cannot just be one cat. Different minds can have different signifieds. A cat can be any variety of cat, can be any breed of cat. It can be any size of cat. Therefore, the signified is not absolute. There are varieties in signifieds. In a similar manner, what happens in the real stage with the child is that having been removed from the love object, this signified, which was earlier absolute, it was a mother, is no more so, because now he is trying to replace that signifier with other signifiers. Why other signifiers? I don't use other signifieds because signified is absolute. So what does it become then? A cat then becomes, in different minds, it becomes a different signifier. I'll only use IER. IER. So all other minds have different signifiers in their mind. I repeat, how does this happen? This is the similar example that I gave you of a pen. The pen was a signifier in Saussurian term, and there was a single signified in Saussurian term. A pen, simply a pen, an absolute idea that there is a single kind of a pen, and that's what the signified is. But post-structuralists say, no, it doesn't take you to a single signified, but it takes you only to a chain of signifiers. It takes you to a chain of signifiers. We'll deal with this in detail when we do Derrida, the post-structuralist who broke this idea, deconstructed the idea of structure. It takes you to a chain of signifiers, which also means that if you're supposed to talk about a pen, like I last time said, somebody said, I am thinking of a pen that I am writing with. Conveying the concept of the pen that the person was using, how many signifiers did that person use? So this is how it becomes a chain of signifiers. There is no single signified. You can never ever define that signified in absolute terms. So this is what Derrida called, it becomes a chain of signifiers. It's never a single signified, but always a chain of signifiers. In terms of the real stage where the love object has been snatched off from the child by the father because of father's law, what does he do? He too happens to do the same. Replace that snatched off object with a chain of signifiers. Now, what are these chain of signifiers for them? Mehak, can we have you? I'm always reminded of you when I talk about the chain of signifiers. Mehek,
Yes, ma'am.
tell me what does this mean?
It means he tries to, if he loved his mother, he tries to see those qualities in a. If he's a boy, he tries to see those qualities in a girl he loves. He always tries to compare it with that girl.
How is a lover a chain of signifiers? Isn't a lover then an absolute? A girlfriend, a boyfriend? Yes, Mehek. How is this a chain of signifiers and not an absolute?
Ma'am, can I say something?
Of course.
Ma'am, chain of signifier ये इसलिए because the real signifier what we are wanting to achieve, that targeted signifier, that is never achieved. As we say, transcendental signifier जिसको हम कहते हैं, it transfers from one signifier to another. लेकिन real जो हमारा targeted होता है वो हमें कभी achieve नहीं होता. So this is the chain of signifier.
The chain
It
of
never
signifiers is
stops.
that the mother is the actual love object which the,
Yes, ma'am.
let's say, man, which a man desires for,
And
and father
it
is,
keeps on transferring from one signifier to another.
yes,
And there is a great example in fiction, Sons and Lovers, Paul Morrell and his mother.
yeah.
That is also chain of signifier. And I'll give a common example. Like there's a wound on our body, maybe on our hand, on our arm. We want to put ointment on that. That is our targeted signifier. But we end up, you know, applying it on the surrounding area here and there, but I don't know why it happens with me. So this is also an example. We never end up, properly applying it on the targeted area. This is also chain of signifier. I don't know, I may be sounding foolish, but I have experienced it. I can relate it with this.
Okay, let's take the idea of the lover, where L1 never always satisfies, never takes that the one who desires to that love object which he or she desires for, the mother or the father. And then he or she finds some traits in L1, some traits in L2, and then L2 lacking in something, then L3 having something but lacking in something, L4 having something lacking something, and then ending up say a wife or a husband. But whatever the wife, however, whatever the kind of perfection they be made up of, they will always lack, because they are never able to fulfill that absolute signifier that a person is looking for, desiring for. So it becomes a chain of desires. This is also expressed in this form, that in the initial stages the target of a person is to top in 8th standard. Achieving that, it becomes topping in 10th standard. Achieving that becomes topping in 12th standard. Achieving that, it becomes topping in NEET, JEE, and other professional exams, or getting into a top central university. And if you fail or achieve it, failing, achieving both, take you to a chain of desires. This will be taken up with a very good job, followed by a very good car, a very good house, a number of children, followed by children achieving the same good or better. And this never ends. One child achieving, second child achieving, third child achieving, all the children achieving. You are never ever satisfied, because you have already been snatched of the original love object that you desired for. So, this is why he makes use of the linguistic term chain of signifiers given by Derrida and uses it onto the psychology of Freud. This is why he is called a linguistic psychologist. Is it clear so far? The person is never able to reach at that signified the object of desire that he earlier had. What then is he able to achieve? He is only able to achieve replacements. And replacements are never totally satisfying, but they are only replacements. They are only substitutes. And in the substitution, the complete satisfaction or pleasure is never ever achieved. This is why humans are never happy. Is it clear so far? Write down the quotation that Lacan has given in his works. Write this down. This potentially endless movement, I'll write it on the board and you'll copy. Is it clear so far? The screen will vanish in less than a minute. You will join the class again. Note this down and then join the class again.